Welcome back.
They're still here.
We are Brad.
I'm Rach.
And Rusty is in the back drinking water.
I don't even notice. I
do.
The noises.
Especially when I'm editing. It really
amplifies.
Yeah, and it's annoying.
Oh.
And sorry for all the background noise that there is.
I feel like we've had background noise since day one, and if you're not wanting to watch a video with background noise, then move along, little doggy.
Yeah, this is not, well, this channel, there's not much background noise.
Yeah, except for just then.
Our main channel, there's
Hit subscribe if you're new here. Please hit the subscribe button. We would love to have you come back time after time after time.
Just helps YouTube recommend our channel.
Totally.
Enough about that boring stuff. What are we talking about today, Rach?
We're going to talk about something controversial. We're going to talk about something that is hard to talk about. We're going to talk about something that is sad.
In our very far future?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about our remaining embryos.
We've had a lot of questions about that. I think especially in the vlog where we talked about our 5, 10, and 20-year plans, and we made no mention of any more children, and I think people just assumed that that meant we were done having kids, or at least they were, I guess, worried about it and asking about the other embryos, understandably so.
And they couldn't have been more right.
I just want to point out that we don't owe anybody an explanation.
Amen, sister.
I know you, okay. We feel very connected with you guys as our YouTube community. I want to start by saying that. We value feedback that we get from you guys. We value the give and take that we are allowed to have on YouTube by still having comments. All of that stuff is wonderful. However, what decision we make about our embryos is between 2 people and God, and that's it.
Well, but they're gonna know because
you will eventually know. However, if we just do a frozen embryo transfer and we don't mention it and it doesn't take, you would never know.
That's a good
potentially.
Point. That's a really good point, honey.
So you don't know for sure. We may or may not choose to share what ultimately happens. And if we're being completely honest, do we know what's gonna happen?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I mean, I think I'm done having children, having 3, but I know Rachel may not feel the same way.
We're not the first couple that has come to a point where you have some kids and one of you wants more and the other one doesn't. And
well, there's literally millions of embryos stored right now.
Exactly. I'm not even just talking about IVF. I'm talking about just couples that are having kids and can't decide if they want to have more naturally.
Yeah, that's true.
So we will not be having another child naturally.
It won't come naturally.
No. We're making sure we're not gonna get pregnant naturally.
So we have 3 embryos.
2. We only have 2 embryos.
We have 2 embryos. Why did I think we have 3? Oh, because we have 3 kids, that's why.
Yeah.
So we have 2 frozen embryos.
With our cycle of IVF, we ended with 4 embryos that were all frozen.
The final 4.
The best 2 were transferred, and there are twins that are sleeping right now. And our doctor didn't necessarily want us to have twins. He didn't want us to have twins.
No, he kind of tried to talk us out of doing a twin or doing a 2 embryo transfer.
He won't just do that with anybody. He only even offered it because he didn't think that we had good chances of getting pregnant with 1.
That and probably because Rachel's, young and healthy and could handle a twin pregnancy. I'm sure that played into it.
I don't know.
So we do have some options with our remaining embryos. They're frozen right now out in South Carolina, and they could just stay frozen forever. We could just keep them in storage. It's about $500, $600 a year that we have to pay to do that. But that's what we're gonna be doing for at least the next 2 or 3 years.
Until we make a decision, which I don't know how we'll ever make it. Another option would be to put the embryos up for adoption. Mm-hmm. And I totally get that that's a really awesome thing to do. I know that that would just immensely bless a couple that has no other way to have, well, I guess they could adopt. But if you want the experience of carrying your own child, I get it. I just can't wrap. It's basically like putting your child up for adoption.
Well, it is.
It is. It is putting your child up for adoption. Our biological child. I don't think I can do that.
I think I would be okay with that. Especially if
this is such a hard topic.
If it's a closed, like if the child would never know who their biological parents are, I would feel better about that.
I don't think I would. I don't think I could do that.
I just would hope that any couple that would want to receive a donated embryo would like really, really cherish a child.
Exactly. And they would also carry it. So there's no doubt in my mind that it would be a very, very loved child.
Right.
But I would want to raise it. If that child's coming into the world, I want to raise it.
Yeah.
I want to know our embryos.
Yeah, it's understandable.
So that's another option, which I feel like is off the table.
So there's something that I thought was completely ludicrous prior to going through IVF with Rachel. And that is something called a compassionate transfer, where basically they'll transfer the embryo into
My uterus.
the uterus. However, they do it at a time where it's highly unlikely that the embryo will survive. So almost like, I wouldn't call it an abortion. What would you call it?
I don't know.
What would you even compare that to?
It's almost in the same category as just destroying the embryo, which is another option, but doing it in a way that like some miracle could bring that embryo into the world.
Like if it was truly meant to be,
it would be, and you're not just flat out destroying it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that one either.
now after all this heated discussion that we have, I could totally understand why a couple would do that.
Yeah. The other option is just to destroy it or donate it to science.
Right.
Which essentially is destroying it. I think maybe they can learn from these embryos, but...
I think they're doing great things with embryo studies.
But do you think it would be possible that you would donate it and they would study it, but like...
Well, there's I think a lab at Stanford that tells you what they learned from your embryo.
I don't think I can do that one either. You have to understand, like, this is a position we didn't really think about it. We were so gung-ho, like we were so desperate to have a child that we just went full board IVF. We were hoping for the most amount or number of embryos we could because that meant more chances of having kids. Without really thinking about what are we gonna do with leftover embryos. And I feel like that needs to be much more thorough of a conversation before even starting IVF.
Yeah, that's a good point. More counseling.
What if we ended up with 9? And there's people that do.
That might be an easier decision then if you ended up with 9.
I don't know. I guess because we only have 2 more. If we had not been pregnant naturally, this would have been a lot easier. We would have done a transfer this summer,
right.
And then there would have probably been no. We may have transferred the other 2.
Yeah, well, and that's how Rachel got pregnant, because she was on birth control, but we stopped the birth control because we were prepping her body to do a transfer.
Right.
And just so happens we got pregnant naturally.
The very first cycle, the very first day, it would have even been possible. It was just unbelievable.
A miracle.
Unbelievable.
On the topic of IVF, what was the hardest part for you going through IVF?
The most painful part was the progesterone injections, hands down. The stimulation injections, the ones that you do in your belly, it's really a mind game, and those are the first injections that you do. They do not really hurt. Maybe after the first 10, it starts to hurt a little bit because there's not really any areas that haven't been poked recently. But by far, the progesterone and oil injection in your butt, oh my gosh, I can't even. Some of the worst pain I've experienced in my life. I couldn't even walk. Like by day 3, the first few days before the transfer, you're getting 1 in the morning and 1 at night. So then by the next morning, you're on the same side again. And then you're on the same side that night. And there's no break, and I couldn't even
it's like this real thick, almost like a syrup or a honey that you inject into your lower back.
Into your, like, the upper part of your butt.
Yeah, so it's not your butt.
I feel like
your
if
lower
I
back.
touch there, it still hurts. I feel like I can still, if I press really hard, I can feel like where.
3 years later.
Seriously, well, the one on the right side, one time I think hit my nerve because.
Who did that?
I won't name any names. But like I had lightning going through my leg for the next few hours, and
Ugh.
I could point exactly where that needle had gone in. And
My bad, honey.
no, you did great. You did. I couldn't have done it myself. I had no choice but to trust you.
I mean, you could have probably.
I don't think so.
All right, so if that was the hardest, what was the easiest?
I shouldn't say that was the hardest. That was the most painful. The hardest was like waiting for the updates after the egg retrieval and during the fertilization, and waiting to see how many embryos we had that survived. That was the hardest. And then finding out like we were gonna have to do a freeze-all cycle, meaning we weren't gonna do a fresh transfer. That meant we had to wait a whole nother month at least until my body recovered from the high levels of hormones from stimulating. We did a whole podcast on our IVF process if you want to listen to the details of all of that, but so we had to wait like an extra month, and it just meant a whole nother month of waiting for our baby. So that was really hard. The easiest part, I don't think there was an easy part. What was the hardest part for you?
Probably the mind game about. So I was the reason for our infertility. It was male factor. Basically every test that we did, Rachel was absolutely perfect. She was an overachiever. So I think just the whole mind game of like, I'm the reason why Rachel has to sacrifice her body and we have to pay. And I think we actually got out kind of cheap. I think we paid about $15,000 like out of pocket. And insurance covered about 10. And I'm the reason, I was the reason for that. So I think that was probably the toughest part. And just being the man, like, and watching your wife go through this stressful, painful ordeal is also, it's really hard. It's not an easy process to do.
I would have rather it been me though. Like I would rather
than watching.
Right, rather than watch you go through.
I'm glad it was you.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally a surgery. You had to go under to get your eggs retrieved, and yeah, it wasn't fun. I started doing yoga again today, and I did so much yoga leading up to and during IVF, and I specifically yoga with Adrian, and so doing yoga today, yoga with Adrian, it was like cathartic. It was just really strange to be back. I don't know. It just reminded me of exactly how I felt.
Did it make you want to do IVF again?
Nope.
All
nope.
right.
We had so many people also that were like, if you just relax and just let it
gosh.
go, then it'll happen. So frustrating to hear. And I was already doing yoga and like trying to do everything I could to make my body healthy and a perfect little vessel for a baby.
Which it was.
And it performed.
Yeah, you did great.
Times 2, 3.
All right, well, we're out of time.
Yep.
So thanks for listening.
It was really depressing.
If you're in the same boat as us, good luck.
There are actual support groups for people who are mourning potentially lost embryos.
On Facebook?
I don't know.
Blogs?
I just read that they exist.
Okay.
Because it's a whole thing. If you decide that your family is complete and you do not want more children, you can't financially have more children, you can't, you can't support a child through a pregnancy, whatever the reason, you don't end up using your embryos. For one, don't judge anybody else because you don't know what it's like to be in their shoes. And for two, you can be supported via support groups, apparently. So.
Awesome. All right. Have a great day on that note.